Now, Mike Huckabee is former governor of Arkansas, ran for president, of course, in 2008, and was fairly successful. Obviously, he didn't win the primary overall. He's got a show now. He's got a radio show. He's got a show on Fox News. And he decided that he was going to talk about Muslims. And to say that he was offensive is soft pedaling it. So let's go to Mike Huckabee.
I know we're not supposed to say anything unkind about Islam. I mean, it's politically incorrect. I get that. But could someone explain to me why it is that we tiptoe around a religion that promotes the most murderous mayhem on the planet in their so-called holiest days? You know, if you've kept up with the Middle East, you know that the most likely time to have an uprising of rock throwing and rioting comes on the day of prayer on Friday. So the Muslims will go to the mosque and they will have their day of prayer, and they come out of there like uncorked animals.
Wow, uncorked animals. Now, of course, the major problem here, among many, is he keeps saying the Muslims, the Muslims, the Muslims. I got news for you. 99.999% of Muslims that come out of holy prayers do not come out and do acts of violence or bombings. They're not uncorked animals. You know what they do? They go home, they have a nice meal, they hang out with their family. The problem is people like Mike Huckabee don't know any Muslims, so it's easy for them to demonize people. He doesn't hang out with Muslims, and his friend doesn't come out of the prayer and come and have a meal with him. So he sees some on TV. Now, which are the ones he's going to see on TV? If there's an act of violence somewhere in the world, somewhere in the Muslim world, and they show it, people say, okay, all I ever see of Muslims is the violence that I see. Now, I don't know, Mike Huckabee could be stupid and not understand that fairly easy concept, or he does understand it, but he wants to promote to all of his listeners that Muslims are uncorked animals, they're savages, and all they know is violence. And even though he knows the irrationality of that statement, he doesn't really care because he's a hate monger. Now, he's now going to talk about Christians and how they would never do such a thing. I have an interesting thing to say about that. Let's hear him out first.
Now, my point is, I mean, do you ever say, oh boy, it's Christmas. Oh my gosh, these Christians are going to come out of that Christmas Eve service and they are going to Walmart and they are going to so rip that place apart, because you know what happens when they go in there and pray about Jesus and they get out of there and then they go straight to the mall and they just, they set fire to the place. I mean, when Christians get out of their Christmas services, about the worst thing they do is commit the sin of gluttony when they go to some Christmas dinner, be it at a restaurant or at someone's home. I don't really recall that the government has to issue a warning and say, look out, it's Easter. Those Christians are coming, they'll be throwing eggs all over town. That's just not what we do.
No. Christians would never do any act of violence. Now, look, I'm not going to go into history, Crusades, Inquisition, etc. And there's a fair argument for that. Hey, that's ancient history. Now, let's talk about today. What do Christians do? I'm not worried about their Easter eggs. I'm not worried about their Christmas dinners that are lovely. I rather enjoy them. What I'm worried about is what they do at the ballot box. They go and vote for evangelical Republicans who start more and more wars. In fact, they demand that they start those wars. Do you know that the evangelical leadership wrote a letter to President Bush when President Bush once made the mistake of saying there should be a roadmap to peace between Palestine and Israel? The leadership wrote to him and said, no, we don't want peace in the Middle East. Because if we have peace, then we can't get to Armageddon and the return of Christ. I'm not kidding, and I'm not making it up, okay? I was shocked by it. Even though I cover this stuff all the time, it's still amazing that they're willing to write a letter saying we do not want a roadmap to peace. And Bush had to respond and say, well, I didn't quite mean it that way. I meant it in another way. And they push leaders like George Bush into more and more wars in the Middle East, like the Iraq War. So Christians, they don't do violence at the micro level. Oh, you get out and you throw stones or you do a bombing. No, that's way too small for the Christian fundamentalists. Christian fundamentalists do violence on a mass scale. They start wars where hundreds of thousands of people die. They do violence right. You see, they've got a machine built for that violence. But it's okay because they have lovely Christmas dinners, and those Easter eggs, they're so pretty with all those different colors. You see, their military machine is disconnected from when they come out of church. They vote, they press that button either way, and all those Iraqis, hundreds and thousands of civilians died anyway. But that doesn't count because they're good Christians. You can't blame them for all the wars they started. No, look, I don't like the fundamentalists of any religion. Whether it's the fundamentalist Jews that are going around spitting on poor Jewish girls trying to go to school, whether it's fundamentalist Muslims that do that violence, that throw acid in the face of girls trying to go to school, or that do bombings. But fundamentalist Christians are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than any of them, because unfortunately they have access to the mightiest military built in history, and they're perfectly willing to use it to kill on a mass scale.